Okay, so we start season 1. No, not that far back. We start season 7, episode 1, and yeah, this episode held a lot. This episode had me taking down a lot of stuff. But I think it did a great job of actually focusing on the stress and the tension and the dilemma that now lies between Dexter and Debra. So I think Dexter was not leaving the country. He was not going that far. I mean, he did. I think that's one of the things that I found interesting. That like something that never really. I can't remember if it's been mentioned in the show before, but something that never really crossed my mind, and it sounds logical for someone of Dexter's line of side work, is that he has a getaway pack, and his getaway pack consists of anything you'd expect one to contain. He has his own syringes. He covered it up saying it was diabetes, but he has his own syringes of tranquilizer. He has IDs, and he has enough money to get him out of the country. And he has a change of spare clothes and stuff that would allow him to leave one place and also change, who he's actually seen as. So I think the opening of the episode did a good job of setting that up. Deborah's discovered his secret. Now he's on the run. He doesn't really think he can trust anybody. He can't really do this anymore, so he has to leave the country and go somewhere else and do something else. But it wasn't actually used for that in the end. He took his getaway bag out to get further into the airport and to get close enough to Victor. But he wasn't actually leaving the country himself. But he did actually get to Victor and kill him. But yeah, RIP is due to Mike. I mean, it feels weird because I think seeing Mike die this soon just feels weird. This feels like, it's obviously setting. Mike was killed by Victor. Victor has been ID'd by Dexter himself as the actual killer, not by anyone else really. So it feels like in that sense we saw the strip club owner calling up someone else in Ukraine. I believe it was some dude called Isaac. He called himself Isaac. And the owner notified him that Victor's on a plane, he'll be there by this time and stuff. We know he won't be, but Isaac was the one awaiting the arrival of this Victor. So I feel like he's it seems safe to say that he seems to be the one that this all of this stuff circles back to. And in this case, it wasn't even a targeted kill. Mike just saw some guy on the side of the road patching up a tire. The boot of the car is usually where you leave tools. The boot of the car, the trunk of the car, whatever you want to call it, is where you'd usually leave the tools to actually change your tire or do some other stuff. And it's not really somewhere you'd expect to find a dead body. But Mike went ahead and opened up the boot anyway, found the dead body, and then as a reflex, the guy, Victor, he pulled his gun out and shot Mike dead on the floor, and then put another bullet in him for extra measure. So it wasn't like a targeted kill. Mike was not the target. It was just like a kill gone wrong. Like no one was meant to find the guy or find the body, so he acted impulsively. But then that stuff does actually lead back to Victor and the strip club owner and all that stuff, and then obviously it all leads back to Isaac. So Victor was clearly under the employment of some kind of Isaac. So yeah, but then Isaac did know about the cop killing as well. So he did know that was in his perspective, that was a situation that would complicate things, because if a cop is killed, then obviously his fellow cops get involved in the situation, and then that complicates whatever kind of deal he runs. I think Quinn did say that they checked the strip clubs for any signs of crime rings or money laundering, but they didn't find anything. So maybe it's that is the kind of profession that Isaac runs throughout the strip clubs, and he keeps it covered up well enough for the cops to not really find anything. And he even said, the strippers that go there come from very, very poor backgrounds, and they don't really have anything else, so they know to stay quiet, otherwise they'll lose this job and maybe even their lives if Isaac orders that as well. So Isaac keeps things undercover, and he keeps things well wrapped up enough. So in that sense, I think Isaac may be the new big bad that this season kind of centers around. So intrigued to see more of how he fits into this whole story. But yeah, R.I.P. to Mike. I think he had a flag wrapped around him, so I think he did actually serve his country in some way as well. But yeah, R.I.P. to him. I feel like he was killed off. I feel like he was killed off more just for the sake of that. Like he was killed off for the sake of introducing Isaac and introducing Victor and all that stuff. It is fun. I mean, he was obviously doing like the Good Samaritan thing, like seeing someone parked by the side of the road, struggling to change, like spending time changing tires. So he thought, more hands the merrier. Like the more hands, the quicker the job gets done. So then he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Found something that he shouldn't have found, and then he paid the price for it. So I mean, in that sense, it's like it leads on to the bigger part of the story, but at the same time, it's like for Mike, I mean, he helped them through the whole DDK thing. He became an actual part of the team. So I feel like, in some sense, I feel like he should have at least gotten a more fitting send off. Like like someone who like was given the send off, he was like wrapped in the flag and like given that kind of honor. I feel like he should have gotten a better send off than just being shot dead on the side of the road and then left there. But either way, Dexter did avenge him. He did beat Victor to death with a fire extinguisher after covering his thing with plastic. So that was a good thing as well. Like that way that the blood doesn't actually come onto the fire extinguisher and it keeps the damage kind of contained inside the bag and stuff. I mean, don't know if there was much of his head left after that, but anywho, they didn't chop off the body. They just kept him in that one big bag and then dumped the whole bag in the river. So yeah, that was that. But yeah, back to Debra and Dexter. Back to the meat and potatoes of that story. So yeah, I think the way they opened this, I think what they're actually doing quite well is showing that Debra is not able to focus clearly on this. Debra has come across something that has pretty much shaken her world to its core. Like she's seeing I mean, ironically enough, she is seeing Dexter in a whole new light. Dexter, this is a very dark thing that Dexter has done, and also a very dark thing that Deb has stumbled onto. So keeping her sanity as much as she wants to, it's not something that she's able to do right now. So she was a detective long before she was a lieutenant. So it's pretty much second nature for her to try and make sense of things, for her to try and put two and two together to see what adds up to what and how things lead up to each other. So throughout the entire episode, she's trying to make sense, because if she doesn't, then it means she gets no answers, and as a detective she needs answers. That's how she makes sense of the world around her. That's how she does her job. So she's thinking more as a detective than as than as his sister. Like, as soon as she finds this stuff out, love is out the window. That whole love thing is out the window. It's more about, why does Dexter know all of this stuff so well? Like, I mean, again, it pretty much did match up to what I said. Like, no one would walk into that church crime scene and see Dexter doing this. Like, no one would walk into there and think, oh, it's self-defense. Like, Dexter tried to chalk it up to self-defense, but it's like, okay, so he tried to attack you with his sword, but then why is he wrapped up in plastic? Why is he the one left defenseless to any attack, while you're the one seemingly happily driving a sword or like a knife through his heart? That's not self-defense. Like, okay, maybe you did defend yourself, but then you got him into a position where he's unable to do the same thing. So there's no logic to any of that. The only logic there is that you planned this out. Like, literally wrapping someone in plastic and tying them to a table spells out planning pretty clearly. He did try to cover up the whole thing and made up excuses for it, and then in the end, the way for them to resolve the situation was to just cover it up as a suicide and also burn down the church. But yeah, throughout the whole episode, Deb is just seeing through Dexter's story. She's just seeing through all of his lies and trying to put two and two together. To the point of actually remembering, like, seeing Travis covered up in plastic as well brings back her own nightmarish kind of memories of actually being taped up on Brian's table and being his newest victim, and that Brian did that in an attempt to actually get to get Dexter to kill Debra himself and actually join his own crusade. So she remembers the way you had Travis tied up was the exact same way Brian had me tied up, like tit for tat detail. Like the knives were rolled out, she was wrapped in plastic sheeting, tied to the table. So it's like it's very reminiscent of that. And I think you know, she did. I think way back when she did discover that Brian Moser, that Brian Moser was not only the real identity of the Ice Truck Killer, but also that he was Brian's biological brother. So, you know, I feel like as like either next episode or the episode, like the further along she goes, she's gonna put two together even more, and she's gonna be like, you know, oh wow, like killing runs in the family or something, or that, you know, like your brother was a serial killer, and now it's evidence that you are too. You're using the same techniques. I mean, Brian was using it because he was imitating Dexter. He was trying to get through to Dexter. He was sending him messages, with each killing he did and everything. So, you know, that's the reason why. Like Dexter himself is the reason why Brian matched that MO as a whole. So, yeah. But you know, she just keeps like getting closer and closer to all of this, and just she can't help but question it. It's like because it consumes, or because her job consumes so much of her life, it's become second nature for her to question things even in her daily life. So coming across a murder scene ties directly into her work, but she just can't actually tell anyone that. So yeah, and I think they did an even better job of actually emphasizing the damage this does with the flashbacks to their childhood past, like Dexter coming home to the new family dog, and then I think at first I thought it might be a flashback to when Dexter maybe accidentally killed the family dog through his rage or whatever. And then Harry had to cover it up by saying, oh, they had to give it away while he just buried it in the backyard or something. But no, that was actually around the time that Harry had actually noticed and, you know, discovered Dexter's urge to kill and all of this stuff. So then he warned Dexter against killing the dog because, you know, that was how he maintained control and all that stuff. So in the end, Harry just he did not want to take any risks. He didn't want to take any risks. He just took the dog away and gave it back to its original owners, and then told, I think, I don't know, I think he bought Debra a new kind of squishy dog toy thing that matched Banjo as best he possibly could, but then he covered it up saying that, you know, Dexter has dog allergies, so that's why they can't have it around. But he also made it. I think the very last flashback they had was also very, very kind of early foreshadowing, like him saying that, you know, Dexter saying that, you know, he can easily tell her because, you know, she loves him. He's her brother. She's her sister. She loves him. Nothing will ever change that. And he's like, yeah, Dexter. She loves who you are. She loves you as her brother. She loves the kind and compassionate person you are. If she ever found out what you really do and who you really are, she'd be terrified. So now, we are definitely entering that kind of terrified territory here. By the end of the episode, she's just kind of, you know, ransacked his apartment. She's found his knives. She's found, I think, other pictures. I think she found his blood slides as well. She sifted through his air conditioning and found his blood slide collection. So yeah. So by the end, the only question she has is, have you killed people with these? Yeah, I have. Like even Dexter knows in that situation, there is no more covering up to be done. All that can be done now is reluctant admittance to his actions, to his crimes, if anything. So yeah, and then she asks, you know, are you a serial killer? And he's like, yeah, I am. So I thought she'd ask it. Like, I thought upon recognizing the blood slides, I thought she'd ask, you know, are you the Bay Harbor Butcher? But I think the first question to get out of the way would be, is he a serial killer? So I think by the next episode, we'll likely open up with that scene of with that confirmation that he is the Bay Harbor Butcher. Yeah. Speaking of the slides, so Dexter unknowingly dropped one of the slides into the like a manhole or like an undercover grate or something. And then when the team is actually there sweeping the area for evidence, LaGuerta spots it out of the corner of her eye, and then manages to collect it for herself. And then upon talking to Masuka, that there was discovers that there was only one person who actually collected blood slides in the Miami Metro Police Department, and that was Dokes, because he was the one. His car was the one that they found the blood slides in. Ergo, he was the one that they labelled as the Bay Harbor Butcher, and then he was on the run, and then he met Dexter, and then he was killed by Lila. R.I.P. to him too. But yeah, so Dokes was the only one known to have any connection with blood slides and any connection with the Bay Harbor Butcher, so I think, you know, instead of logging that one in, LaGuerta is gonna take that blood slide for herself and do some investigating of her own. So what that means for Dexter, I don't know, because I don't know where that's gonna lead her. Like, maybe she's gonna find out that there's actually more to the blood slides than just Dokes, and maybe she's gonna connect it to the ice rocket or something. I don't know, but I feel like she's gonna launch her own investigation into what the blood slide actually is, and I'm connected to the Bay Harbor Butcher case, given that the Bay Harbor Butcher case was the case where the blood slides were originally found, and see if there are any matching fingerprints. I think I'm like 90% sure that Dexter was wearing his gloves at all times when actually handling the blood slides. But yeah, this is not going to be good news. If she continues down this path, it's not going to be good news, because I mean, Debra already continued down the path of further questioning what the truth was behind Dex, knowing how well to actually kill Travis and how well to actually set up that scene. And then she came to the conclusion that he holds a lot more than just a pair of gloves and a knife. He holds many gloves, many knives, and also many slides to document all of his killings. So we'll see exactly how that goes. And then we got the Lewis dilemma. I honestly don't. I mean, I don't know if he's just taking this much offense from Dexter telling him to move on from his game, or if there's more problems he's got going on. But Lewis himself is proving himself to be a dilemma. Like, he's in Dexter's side of the apartment alone. When Jamie's putting Harrison to sleep, he's in Dexter's side of the apartment alone. He's using Dexter's computer. He's accessing Dexter's property without his explicit permission, under the guise of checking the baseball scores. But I think he used it to actually take down Dexter's bank account information, and then when he got to his own place, he used it to cancel his account. That's a dick move beyond anything, and that is a very clearly recognizable dick move. And I think that was the reason why none of Dexter's cards were working at the petrol station, so he had to take his cash and use that to buy some tickets at the airport. And I think, on the one hand, that's less traceable, but then he did use it. But then again, I think he did use a different ID and stuff anyway. So I don't know, but I think if he has different IDs under different names, then that would mean that he has different bank accounts and different cards under different names. So obviously, if he cancelled the one under the name Dexter Morgan, then that's probably his main one. So he probably has different different cards. But I don't know if you can actually do that. If you can actually make the same account under maybe the same minor details, but still have it change the name or something. But I don't know. But the account he cancelled was Dexter Morgan. He tried a few cards at the petrol station, at the gas station, but none of them seemed to work. They were all declined. So now we know why. But yeah, I don't know what Dexter. I don't know what Lewis's problem here is. And he's everyone thinks that Dexter's such a great guy, but he's really just a pompous jerk. And he's oh, don't touch my stuff. That's just basic human decency and manners. You do not touch someone else's property or someone else's belongings without their explicit permission to do so. Be it a laptop or a phone or something. It would make more sense if he actually waited around. And also being in Dexter's apartment without Jamie there, being in Dexter's apartment alone, that alone raises questions of what he's actually doing there, why he needs to be there, why he can't just wait near Jamie while she puts Harrison to bed and stuff like that. And the fact, it is the rubbing salt in the wound is literally just using Dexter's computer, Dexter's personal home system, to do whatever without Dexter being there. If he had at least asked Jamie, then I don't even think he asked Jamie to use it. If he asked Jamie, then Jamie would have at least been able to vouch for him, or Jamie would have told him I'll wait till Dexter gets here and ask him yourself. I can't really speak on his behalf and stuff like that. But I think at that point he was just looking for reasons to piss Dexter off, and then just using that as an excuse, oh, Dexter was mean to me, so now I'm going to cancel all of his credit cards and stuff like that. But I don't know. Lewis just feels like he's going to become more and more of a dilemma as time goes on. So yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with that stuff. What else? I think, yeah, Dexter's getaway pack, so that stuff's done. But Yeah, I think it's just I think this episode did like a good job of actually showing like exactly like I mean it's not going to be a case of like Deborah crying for I mean Deborah she had flashbacks like that image of seeing Dexter stabbing and killing Travis is stuck in her head. That's not something she can get out. Like I think even that seeing that being done to Travis brought back her own flashbacks of being trapped on Brian's table and very nearly meeting the same fate. Like Dexter was the one who refused to kill Deborah, and then Brian was the one who said, "Oh, you can't be a killer and a hero," and he went to stab Deb, and then Dexter stopped him at the last minute. So she very nearly joined Travis's fate. That alone is a very scary thought for her. But then it makes it worse the fact that the way Dexter decided to kill Travis in self-defense was the exact same manner in which and the exact same setup at which Brian used to actually try and kill Deborah. So it doesn't help when she can't help but question things, but then every detail she finds adds up to more and more about a darker secret that Dexter is trying to hide, or at least failing to hide at this point. So in the end, she cannot help it at all, and she goes over to his apartment. She ransacks the entire place, finds all the more evidence. I mean, I think maybe the knives were probably in. I think he has like a trunk in his actual wardrobe. So I think maybe she ransacked there as well, and then she just brought everything, and she just had a gun out as well. I think that was her own gun. I don't think she's gonna shoot Dexter, but I mean, well, we had a flashback. I mean, I think a few seasons back we had like a scene of Dex contemplating how and if to tell Deborah the truth about him, and one of them had her just crying for hours on end. The other one had her pulling the gun out and threatening him and telling like hands on the ground or in the air or whatever, and then the other one just had her just straight up point blank shooting him in the face. So I don't think that, but I'd like to think that they wouldn't immediately go down that route, but yeah, all of her questioning and all of her kind of inquisitorial kind of nature of activities so far has led to her uncovering all the more stuff that leads to Dexter. Leads not just to Dexter knowing so well how to do this, but also leads to her realizing that this is not Dexter's first time killing. This is not Dexter's someone. If this was someone, I mean, but. It's just basic. I feel like it's just kind of basic knowledge that if this was someone's first time killing, they would not go to the lengths of wrapping someone up in plastic, maybe restraining them in some way, like tying them to a chair with a bit of rope and then killing them that way. But then going to the lengths of actually stripping them naked and then wrapping them in plastic to a table, and then just having a bit of a monologue and then killing them. That is not. That is not how someone kills someone for the first time. If you kill someone, especially in self-defense, you'd expect more of a tussle, maybe just wrestling between the knife and then getting stabbing the other person after that. That would be self-defense. But this, I mean, Dexter tried to cover it up with I wasn't in the right state of mind. I had so much anger in me since Rita died. I just had to unleash it. But then even then, if he had had anger in him for that long, especially for that long, and he was waiting to unleash it, and it was self-defense, I think it would have been a more likely cause of death that he would have beaten Travis to death, as opposed to actually taking the time to restrain him and tie him up and then stab him. Someone with that much anger over losing a loved one to another serial killer, who had gone this long with said anger, would likely have been a lot more angry and actually a lot more violent as well. He would have actually legitimately lashed out and actually beaten him to death or stabbed him multiple times and left him bleeding out on the floor, still in his clothes and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it goes to show how prepared he was for the kill, but not so prepared for the actual for someone being there in the wrong place at the wrong time. Dexter, I mean, he put it up to the code. He should have killed Travis as soon as he discovered he was one of the Doomsday Killers, if not the Doomsday Killer. But he also was led down the path of kind of compassion by Brother Sam. Brother Sam told him that everyone deserves saving, and that the love of the Lord is what everyone deserves and all that stuff. So he gave Travis the benefit of the doubt and tried to get him to change, but then discovered the truth by the time it was too late, and then more and more people died. So yeah, so he blames that stuff as well, and then obviously just him using the church. The church is obviously holds great significance to Travis's crime. So what better place to kill him than the church? But I think he probably shouldn't have done it out in the open, maybe an underground level or something. Maybe not directly on the ground floor. I mean, But it doesn't make sense because I think he knew that he was meant to be at the church anyway to actually collect evidence. Like that was one of the jobs that Deborah gave him. Like, you know, oh, we would like I'd like you know, like go back to the church and do like one final kind of collection of evidence before we, you know, cover the place up and lock it down. So he knew that he knew that he was meant to be there regardless. So if anything, it would have made more sense for Deborah to clarify her presence there by saying, you know, oh, you were meant to be here anyway, so I just came to check up on you. But in the end, he did use his need to be there to actually kill someone else. So that is what Deb latches onto. But yeah, she was right in thinking that this is way too much preparation and know-how in killing someone for it to be self-defense or even for it to be a first time. This is someone who knows how to kill someone, and then, you know, Dex even tried to cover it up, saying, you know, oh, I'm a blood spatter unless I know how serial killers work, so I use that kind of knowledge to my advantage. And honestly, that raises more concerns than like than reassurances. It's like, you know, okay, so if you managed to pick up this much from serial killers, what else have you managed to pick up? Like, you know, she saw him killing Travis, but then, you know, like it also him saying, I know what I'm doing, before sending her out to get the gasoline, being like, you know what you're doing, so what, you know how to dispose of the bodies, or you know how to clean up the crime scene and make it look like nothing happened? Like, how many other times have you done this, Dexter? Like, what secrets are you hiding from me? Like, that kind of stuff is what was explored really well in this episode, I think. So they did a good job of showing how, like, you know, how Deborah would not be immediately trusting or immediately accepting of all of this. She would likely have trillions of questions as to what the hell is going on. And by the end of the episode, she found it all out. So, yeah, love is definitely out the window. Her confession of love is long out the window, and she needs to try and process this stuff a lot sooner than she tries to process the love. So, yeah, that is pretty much all I have. The girl that Victor killed was Kaja Soroka, the stripper, so that was that. I think that was probably maybe just a meeting gone wrong or something along those lines, but we'll see how the stuff with Victor and Isaac actually plays off, and how everything actually leads up to Isaac being the killer as well, like what his business is and what like how he's the big bad and what his crimes are and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it will be a good mix between seeing Deborah and Dexter dealing with this newfound knowledge of Dex being a serial killer between them, and also Dex dealing with like any arrivals of a new villain to the series and all that sort of stuff. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes down and what other dilemmas he deals with, like Lewis and also LaGuerta. So yeah, and I think what else? Batista and Quinn have their own little kind of tension-filled bromance going on. Like Quinn kind of lying about, you know, being in a program to sort his stuff out, and then Batista just wanting to hurry up and get him to sort his stuff out, like him giving him the benefit of the doubt by not actually filing for a union transfer anyway. So we'll see how that stuff goes down too. But yeah, that is pretty much all I have from this episode. So great opener, I feel, a great tension-filled opener that really boggles the mind up. So looking forward to seeing what else the series has to offer. But yeah, that was Dexter Season 7, Episode 1, titled Are You? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then salt and burn that like button. Comment or review the episode on what you think is coming up next in the season. And yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys next time.